Hello everyone, Ted Simpson here, working off a tiny canvas here today. I thought I would try something new. I got a little bit of liquid clear on a white canvas. What exactly am I doing here today? It's one of Bob's crazy ideas. If you look up a episode called Daisy Delight, you will see one of the very few episodes where Bob puts a liquid clear layer on the canvas first. Now, how much liquid clear do we put on here? You know, very, very little. I'm going to work some right into the fabric here, right into the nooks and crannies of this standard old 12 by 16. This is a test. I don't know if this is going to work out right or not. I'm not going to follow Bob's specific composition to the T here. I'm going to make some changes, and we'll see how it goes. I might make a couple of versions of this painting. I don't know. We'll see how this one goes. So, very small amount of liquid clear across the canvas. If you're unsure, you know, if it's just like a little light oily feel to your finger there, obviously we don't want it dripping. And if you think you have too much, you can always just give it a quick once over, wipe off the excess, and I think we'll be all right. Now, in this particular episode, Bob just put a bunch of color. Remember when he did those wood grain effects? You know, just pulls like this, and he just did a bunch of different colors. You could do that with the 1-inch brush or the 2-inch brush turned vertically, and put in various stripes of color. Once we go crazy and throw some paint thinner on it, it should look all wacky and weird. But I thought today that we would use those same colors Bob used in the episode, but instead of just vertical stripes, we'll just get a little more free form with it. So, touch of the dark sienna, and I'm using the 2-inch brush. I might switch over to the 1-inch brush. I don't know. And we're just going to crisscross some stuff. Very little color. I'm actually wiping some of the paint off my brush and do a little soft blend here. I was thinking we'd kind of do this more vignette looking thing. Very little alizarin crimson. And again, push some color on in a couple of spots, wipe the excess color out, and then work it in. He put, I forgot a color. A touch, very light touch of that phthalo blue. And when I got this idea from some of my mentors, so to speak, or just other certified instructors that I admire and respect. This looks like a lot of the floral activity. If you ever seen a Bob Ross certified instructor that teaches floral, they often put just kind of an interesting, amorphous, vague background. And, you know, those teachers, let me get this brown out of the box. Sorry about that. Faye Fletcher, Nick Hankins, of course, Annette Kowalski is the originator of the Bob Ross floral method. I have just these interesting backgrounds that aren't anything distinct, just some kind of interesting. So just a touch of Van Dyke brown. That was the color I was missing. Maybe here or there. A couple different spots. You can put it wherever you like. What am I missing? Maybe a touch of Indian yellow. Maybe a little bit of it will hit that blue make green. I don't know. I'm going nutty here. I'm not sure if any of these colors are the ones I should be using, but I'm using them. Let's go ahead and clean out that brush. It's still kind of dirty with all these different colors, and if I empty the brush out in any of these light areas, we'll see. I'll tell you what, I'm going crazy now. A touch of phthalo green. Anywhere you want here. Back to a little bit of the dark sienna down here. Wiping off the excess, and that allows me to blend this a little softer. And you got to take a step back once in a while, once in a bit, and see what you might want to add. There, a little bit of that yellow ochre right there. Maybe a touch more of the alizarin crimson down here. Working it in. Ooh, that got a little strong. It's all about freedom in this painting. Freedom to pick whatever colors you want, make whatever motions you want here to get the color off. Bob's little rocking strokes, crisscross strokes, circle scrubs, it doesn't really matter. Just putting on some background, see what happens. Maybe a little bit more of that brown, dark sienna in there. I don't know. I like how the crimson just kind of disappears off into the ether there. But if you wanted to juice it up, and just add it a little bit more, give it a little more boldness. We'll just call that good for now. I don't know. Something like that. Now, let's come up here with a clean, I guess this is the large fan brush, and I'm going to dip it into the paint thinner. It's got a decent amount on there. Hold our knife flat, vertical, straight up and down so I could see my reflection here. And then I hold my brush flat and I flick. Flick some of that color out there. And wait. You gotta give it a minute. You gotta give it some time for the reaction to occur. What? Occur. Maybe a little bit more. It takes a moment. And this will change throughout the painting. The majority of it happens in the first 30 seconds. And I thought here, well, Bob, I think even before he did this, he threw on some background trees and whatnot. Let's go ahead and give that a try. What the heck? I'm going to come in here with a little bit of that Van Dyke brown, some dark sienna. Not sure about that yellow. What do you think? Let's go ahead, do a little bit of cleanup, a little bit of palette maintenance there, all this little bashed in stuff. Let's get rid of it real quick. Now I've got my mountain mixture, which is crimson, blue, browns, blacks, all that good stuff. And I'm going to throw a little bit of the phthalo green into it. Touch of dark sienna gets into it, maybe even Van Dyke brown, it doesn't matter. Nice dark color. One of my favorite mountain mixes is making purple out of my crimson and phthalo blue, and then adding a little bit of brown and green to it. Bob likes that Prussian blue quite often. that one works fine too. Sap green or phthalo green. It's all good. So, before we throw on that color, let's come in here with a little bit of the brown and dark sienna. Van Dyke brown, dark sienna. And let's put in a couple of background trees. I'm going to find that right amount there. And just tap. I move my brush as I work my way down, putting on a background tree here or there. You can make it a little taller if you want. Just something calm and mellow. Give him a little buddy down here. You may see it want to mix with some of that color that's in the background there. It's okay, don't worry about it too much. Maybe we get some tall ones here. Just making a basic shape. Lots of tapping. Just move the brush. Build out the shape, whatever you're looking for there. Either wider at the bottom, wider at the top, it doesn't really matter. Just looking for vague indications, you know? Now, I thought it was cool. It's been a while since I've done this painting, so I was watching the episode and saw where he actually created the illusion there, a little bit of land coming off the bottom of these. Just an indication something's happening back here. Not saying you have to use that color. If you want it a little bit darker here or there, pull some out. Remember, the lighter it is, the further away it will look. The darker it is, the closer it will appear. Now, I wonder here if I were to take just the tiniest bit of green, pulled some through here or there, a little hint of green. Hint o' green. So using this big old fan brush, we're going to make a bunch of evergreens. Bob kept this painting quite simple in its composition. And he used the 2-inch brush on a big 18 by 24. It's a great choice. On this smaller canvas, it's a little tougher, not impossible, but tougher to make the trees with the 2-inch brush. You can do it, but you know, why put yourself through the effort? We're all about ease here, so on the big canvas, yeah, the bigger brushes work just fine. On a smaller canvas, it can be a little trickier. So I'm just going to play around and kind of split the difference here. It might have been easier to use the smaller fan brush instead of the large one, but yeah, I'm going to go ahead and use the big one. So we got a tree out here, and we're going to give this tree a few friends back here, putting on a little, just a little touch. As long as you can see a little line there, that's our guideline just for where the tree builds its way down. Really, the only bit that we see is up here at the top. Just tapping, letting those bristles bend, working my way down. Build out a tree or two at a time. Maybe this one comes down a little further. I don't know. There's going to be some land here anyway. We can figure out what part of it's the tree and what part of it's the land. This one's working its way down. And I'm going to try to stop a little above to make this tree look like it's mostly in the front there. And let's give this one a little buddy. Change the height there. Give it a little variation there so they don't all look exactly the same. And that one just kind of disappears right there. This is a great composition to practice evergreens and make sure you get those right. That one there, I might have to change that one a little bit. See, some of that little line you put in there is your indicator. Sometimes you don't get it quite right. That's all right. You can change it. This is a big old tree. That's a little further away. Ooh, I'm not sure about that one. There we go. And let's give this one a little touch over here. Maybe we won't see all this one here, but it's a nice background tree. Whatever gives you the practice. Put as many or as few of these in there as you want. Maybe Bob put a few indications of background trees after the foreground trees. All you got to do is just drop them in there, just sort of pulling down like that while pushing in and down. Push in, down, and swipe. Gives you some nice little indications there. And then you can always just put those branches right back in. Wherever you just tapped and destroyed them, you just put them right back in. I like that. You should use that more often. Tap in some background trees and put a couple branches over it. Maybe even some back here. Oh, I kind of lost that whole thing. Whole vignette thing happening here. That soft, dreamy effect. I like it. That was simple. So, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to clean up my palette again. I wipe the excess paint off my brush, kind of recover it right back up here. There's my color again. I might practice this one a couple times so I've got some spare paint to work with. And before I clean my brush, a quick tip for you. Squeeze some of the excess paint out of the brush before diving into your paint thinner. It'll keep your thinner a little cleaner. A little better at cleaning your brushes when you start swirling around. Don't have to change it as often. Okay, so I do have a little bit of liquid white around here somewhere. Let me shake the heck out of that. We thin down our paint so we can make our highlight color using a little bit of liquid white, and I just spilled it all over my hand. So before I mess up and make things worse, clean my hand. Pulling through my cadmium yellow. A little bit of green, a little bit of phthalo green, sap green, phthalo green. Let's make, ooh, there we go. Let's make a highlight shade here. Maybe darken it just a titch. And I tell you what, before we put on our highlight, let's come up here with our knife, and just with the edge there, I'm going to create a little stick right up at the top of these trees, just by pushing the color that's already there. And maybe a couple little extra ones down here, in between, who knows. Little sticks in the background here and there. Really only going to see a few of them by the time we get done. There we go. So let's put on a little bit of highlights here and there. Like to work the ones I think are in the back first, as often as I can, and then we can put different things in front of it if we like, if there are more trees there. Create all sorts of perspective tricks when we do the trees behind, and then the trees in front. I was just telling my class when I was doing and demonstrating about these highlights, just less is more. Allow yourself to let some of this dark remain. You don't have to have highlights across the whole thing, you know? You can always come back and add one or more as you need. So I thought, just to change things up a little bit, let's come in with our black-handled oval brush. I'm going to change the flavor a little bit, get some of this thinned color and change the value. And let's put a couple little bushes back here. Little indications here in front of this batch of trees. Maybe we'll do a few back here. Add some more in front. Same thing back here. Some more yellowy ones. Maybe a little yellow ochre in the mix. And then a brighter one as we move into the light. Who knows? There we go. Something's telling me I need to scratch a couple of sticks and twigs in there. There we go. Cover up a couple of those sticks with another layer of bushes. Gives a little bit of depth there. Now, I think I will take, wherever I can find it, a 1-inch brush. Here's one. A little bit of that dark color that remains down here. Let's create a little grass. Kind of pulls to the right this way. You can tap it, pull it. Create this little vignette, this little bit of grass that's pulling out one direction here. And Bob has this little, almost like a little hill, let's call it. And then it just changes and pulls out the other way. Just tapping a little bit of that color, creating a little bit of this grass or lawn effect here, a field. But it's small here, see, very short strokes here, but as we work our way forward, just pull a little further. And that's what's going to give it that perspective. Just makes more sense, right? A little bit in the back, a bit more in the front. Very fun. I like that color. That was very, very nice. Very spring-like, it looks like. And of course, the more you work it, you can pull and blend Make things darker by keep going over it. Make it lighter by pulling it a little further. And again, keep going. You can play around with this a little bit till you're happy. You know what? That could be a painting right there. You know, you wouldn't have to do any more than that. That is very, very cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add to it. Now, you don't have to leave it alone. Let's go ahead and put one of Bob's fences in here. And we could use the short knife that I have now. Just make this first plank easier. But as I'm working my way back, I just want to make these a little bit shorter to help with that depth and distance. So the length of the small knife is just what I'm looking for. You can always make a bigger one by just going up a little bit. But then as we work away, they're going to be a little shorter. And let's take a little bit of titanium white, a little bit of the dark sienna, and make an interesting highlight shade here. Ooh, I like the little light one there. Well, it's a bit whiter than I wanted it to be. Oh well. That's what I get for going right into the brightest part. I tell you what, I think it's time for a repair. Go right back to my dark color. Put it right over it. Boom. Call that the mulligan. Now with a different highlight mix I have here, a little bit more on the dark sienna side, almost a grayish tone. There we go. And maybe up here on the top, just with the point of my knife, get a little, almost a little droplet, it looks like. Just to get a little on the top part of this fence post. There we go. I think I missed one here. Right, that, and that. There we go. Right there. Ooh, there it is. Now that I have that on there, now if I really wanted to accentuate it, I add just a touch more of the white, and maybe on just a couple of the posts, it's a little brighter. Not sure if I can see that. There we go. So I'll take my 1-inch brush and just in the very bottom of these fence posts, I'm just going to blur the bottom of them. Having a little fun with it. Now Bob made up a big old mess here. Let's see what we got. You can make these fence posts in whatever you like. I tell you what, before we jump ahead, we got to give that fence post a little crossbar, don't we? I think the small knife is still better. Let me switch back to the small knife there. Got to give it a little crossbar. Maybe even a second one. There we go. Can't forget the highlight. Just a touch. Very cool. All right, so let's take a different fan brush here, and I'm going to get a couple of drops of the liquid clear. And I'm going to thin out my rest of my pile of dark sienna. Going back and forth, trying to integrate the rest of that dark sienna. There it is. Look how shiny that is. Very, very thin. You can change the color if you like. You want a little red in it, a little bit of Van Dyke brown in it. It's all good. And what we're going to do is we're going to push firmly. And like Bob said here, we're going to punch in some color. Punch, punch, and just push. Get some color, bend those bristles. Get some of that out there. And then using the tips of the bristles, like the corner of the brush, I'm going to flick up and pull some of that color up. Make some little weeds and grasses. Just like that. Now is how Bob used, you could use paint thinner. You really don't want that crazy reaction with the liquid clear. You could just thin down a little bit of titanium white with liquid white instead of, or even a little bit of liquid clear as a thinning agent. And let's make some daisies. Bob just pulled, it's a little push inward. It's like we're making the petal that goes towards the head of the brush. Push, pull, pull. Depending on what direction you're talking about, it's either a push or a pull. Pulling in. I have to admit, I'm not the best at making daisies. But we just make indications here. It looks like it from a distance. You don't have to be super surgical with it and draw on specific things here. Push in, pull in to the center. And then maybe you can change it up a little bit. And I'm going to take a little bit of the phthalo blue and my liquid clear, liquid white, titanium white, whatever it works. And we get a little bit of a pastel blue. And let's pull and make a couple of different colored daisies here. It's been a while here. I should practice more. Some of that color mixes and mixes with the dark sienna as you're doing it. You know, you just got to go for it. And don't try to go over it multiple times. Get the little indication out there and you'll be fine. Fine, fine, fine. Now I do clean my brush in the paint thinner, but I'm going to go right back into liquid white and other things. Thin down a color. Let's maybe make a pink one. Little alizarin crimson. And let's add a little twink. There we go. It's starting to come around. Starting to get the muscle memory back. Sorta. And I'm going to clean out my brush a little bit of that liquid white. And I'm going to go into my yellow ochre. Oh boy. A little too much liquid white there. I'm going to try that again here. Let me wipe out most of that liquid white. There I go. So I want it a little bit darker here. A little bit of that yellow ochre, and we're just going to touch in the middle of each of these daisies. Give it that nice daisy look. As long as we can see it okay, we should be good to go. That's working better now. Touch, touch. There it is. And let's take a look here. Thin down a little bit of that Van Dyke brown. Maybe we can get a little indication of a little stick and a twig coming up here, just like we do often here. Maybe a little half a start to a tree. I don't know. Little thingies here. You could even pull down a couple of stems on these daisies, if you so choose. Wow, it's been a while since I've done this one. I thought it was fun. Let's go ahead, maybe soften out this bottom edge just a little bit, the same way that we did those trees up there. Just to set this down into the scene. Nice little vignette thing happening with all these little watercolor effects. So there's a simplified version of Daisies at Dawn. Using some colors, some different techniques here. Get to play around. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I'll see you next time with a new video. Take care, all.